understanding my own trauma and how that's impacted me and my life unconsciously, and bringing it into the conscious and dealing with it, I wanted to bring what I'd learned out into the world.
Power to Live More with Jo Dodds.
Welcome to the Power to Live More podcast, all about productivity, organisation, well-being, energy and resilience. I'm Jo Dodds, and I started this show to enable interesting people to share their stories about how they use their power to live more, and by that I mean to do the stuff that they want to do more than the stuff that they need to or should do. It's about creating a life for yourself where you have the energy, health and space to be happy and fulfilled, spending your time as you'd like, whether that be at work, home or somewhere else entirely. That's your choice.
Hello. My name is Ellie Dodds and I am co-presenter, and today Jo's interviewing Wendy Kier. This is Wendy's second appearance on the show. She was one of our first guests on show number 16. Jo and Wendy have been online friends for a long time now and continue to keep in touch and meet regularly to keep each other accountable. Author of the book, #BeMoreWolf, a survivor's story breaking the trauma cycle throughout her adult life, Wendy has sought to deal with the traumatic events she experienced while institutionalised in the UK care system and as a young adult. Wendy believes that when healing from emotional and traumatic scars, there has to be an inside-out job. This is why she developed the Trauma Recovery Method, TRM, so that others can experience for themselves a successful ongoing recovery, one that breaks the trauma cycle. Back to the studio.
Today I'm interviewing Wendy Kier of the Trauma Recovery Method. Welcome, Wendy. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Jo. Thanks for having me.
And this is your second time on the show. We were just looking back and remancing that it was 5 years ago when you came on show 16. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. That's 5 years. That's incredible. I remember 5, so...
And we've known each other for sort of longer than that, but we had a bit of a funny story, didn't we? That you came to stay, and I can't remember even when that was. That's probably about 3 years ago, I would think. And you came for a weekend, and one of our neighbours had their twins had a birthday party, and you were going to be here, and they had invited us. So I said, "Oh, is it okay if I bring my friend?" And they said, "Yeah, no problem." And then, do you remember, we turned up and everyone was saying, "Oh, how do you know each other?" And we were saying, "Oh, we've known each other online for, a good few years now, but we only met last night for the first time when Wendy appeared at the house." And they were like, "What?" And it seemed quite normal to us because we've both been online with our businesses for quite a long time, and we've got lots of online friends who we've never met and probably never will meet. But for real people in the real world, it was a really odd discussion to have, wasn't it?
I'm sure, yeah, it definitely was then. I'm not sure about now because so many people are using online, although exhausted by it, I think, probably as well.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So tell us, Wendy, who you are, what you do, and crucially, where you do it.
Yeah, okay. So at the moment, I am in a bit of a transition. I used to, before this transition, be a business coach for women who wanted to help clients in a one-to-one setting. So that would be around some form of counselling, some form of therapy. When this craziness kicked off, I moved away from being a business mentor, business coach, and stepped into wanting to really help and to connect with women who were experiencing trauma, because my background, my upbringing has all been around trauma. I've lived my life through trauma. So I just reached that point where I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am writing a book around trauma recovery. So that's what I'm currently focused in on, is bringing that book together.
Lovely. Which
is a challenge in its own right.
Yeah, which we'll talk about. But there's been other big changes since we last spoke as well. You're no longer in the UK, are you?
No, I'm hiding in Thailand. hiding on a little tropical island down the end of the island, as far away from people as possible. So I've become a bit of a recluse, probably. I only leave the island a couple of times a year. You know, we always wanted to travel. We always said to ourselves that we didn't want to stay in the UK. So when the business coaching was going well, we just decided, let's make it happen.
Let's be location independent.
Get rid of everything. Let's be location, that trendy term, location independent. I don't like digital nomad, but location independent I quite like.
Yeah.
So we packed up little rucksacks, got rid of everything, and I think I've been away for about 3.5 years now.
Wow. So it must have been even longer. It must have been 4 years when we met then. So yeah. So
yeah.
So it's really just so lovely to sort of still be in touch, and we have regular calls. We sort of keep each other accountable and stuff, don't we? And so I've sort of followed along with your sort of transitioning over the last few months. Tell us a bit more about where this has all come from, and why this now, and why it's important to you.
I had this thought going on in my head when the pandemic started back in 2020, I think it was. I can't even remember. It was such a long time ago now. And this is going to sound terrible, so please don't take it the wrong way. But this is what I was thinking at the time, and it might be a bit shocking to some people. But in my head, I'm even still apologizing to myself for thinking this. But in my head, I was thinking, because I'd experienced so much trauma as a child, and had a really hard time as a child and growing up as a teenager, and always constantly living with trauma. When the pandemic hit, there was part of me that was saying, now you know what it's like, world. Which is really quite cruel in some respects. But by me saying that, something happened in terms of me thinking, well, if that's the case, and I have this level of resilience, and I've been through some horrific things, I've always been able to bounce back, I'm always motivated in moving forward, maybe what I can do is, maybe it's my time now to look at how I can help other people to recover from trauma. So even though that was a terrible thing to say and a terrible thing to think, and I still do think it's a terrible thing to think because it's cruel, it also switched on a light in me that said, hang on a minute, you can really help people because you've been through so much shit. You've devised these methods, you've been able to support yourself. It's now time to step forward and bring that into the world to help other people. So that's how it sort of that's sort of how it was born. Yeah. In terms of my background, I was abandoned by my parents at around 2, went into residential care, abused in residential care. I was addicted to drugs from the age of about 2.5, Valium. And then all of these just chain after event after event, after trauma after trauma after trauma, just layer on layer and layer on layer on layer, which underpins, I guess, where I am now. So understanding my own trauma and how that's impacted me and my life unconsciously, and bringing it into the conscious and dealing with it, I wanted to bring what I'd learned out into the world, because it's also part of, I'm going to be honest here, recovering from trauma is not you click your finger and it's done. It's something that it's part of your personality. It's part of your identity. You learn to develop a different relationship with it so you can move forward and heal. But for me, it's not I've dealt with that now, it's finished, it's over. I can still be emotionally triggered by things, but I have a different way of dealing with it now. I can actually deal with it and move forward much quicker rather than having things happen to me unconsciously and not going anywhere, which is what people generally tend to do, is do things unconsciously and just get stuck.
So
that was the short version.
yeah. And I seem to recall from when we interviewed before on here, but also in other conversations we had, you've always been fairly open about having a traumatic upbringing, but you've not it's not been the main topic of conversation sort of thing, and it wasn't what you were doing in terms of your business and so on. And obviously now you're really sort of bringing that out in what you're doing, and obviously, as we've mentioned, writing a book. How has that been, to be sort of reliving effectively in your mind a lot of the things that happened that are part of your story?
Good question. It can be at times very tiring. So I have learned to be in survival mode for such a long period of time, which means that I can only see what's in front of me. I can't see what's right or left. So I'm only ever. So what that's done is over time is it's my default mechanism of stress and anxiety, and is that I've closed down, I start to fall asleep, I start to withdraw. And I have found when writing the book that I have found myself getting very tired, having to sleep lots, starting to withdraw, which has been a really fascinating insight. Because when you come to writing a book, even though it is when you're writing around trauma, it's very emotional, is that you get to see your experience from a different perspective. You get to see it just from a different angle, which you wouldn't have seen before. So even though it has been emotionally heavy to write, for sure, I've also been able to look at my experiences and think, oh my God, that is really horrendous. And it's like I parent myself through self-coaching to be able to move past it, but also to be able to recognize it and be able to release it. So I get to see it from a different perspective.
Yeah. I can see how emotionally that sort of must be very difficult. And as you say, interesting that it then drives physical sort of responses to that as well. I mean, I suppose it shouldn't be surprising. That's increasingly what we hear about how interconnected our thoughts and our physical response to those thoughts is. Oh, what? Tell us a bit about the recovery, the trauma recovery method, and how you've developed that. Oh, have you gone?
Joe?
Hello?
Hello? I don't know what happened there.
Well, what are you doing?
I don't know what happened. I was like talking and then I stopped. I'm like, Joe?
How weird. So obviously I'll cut this bit out anyway. It says my internet an issue as well. How weird. Right. Let me just make a note of where we are so I remember to hang on.
Right, let me bring my phone closer as well and make sure it's all right as well.
So,
very weird.
So we started about 10 to, didn't it? 10 minutes in. Okay. Right, okay. So let me ask that question again. So tell us about the trauma recovery method and how you've developed that as you've gone through this transition.
I'm just going to switch over my internet. Oh, it's done it. Sorry, Joe. I do apologise. I'll try again. I'll do
it again. Right, hang on. So tell us about the trauma recovery method that you've developed as part of this transition.
Yeah, so as I've dealing with my own trauma over the years and learning to manage it, combined with all the courses I've extensively done and the work that I've done with working with young people in the care system at risk. Over the time, I have been doing exercises, finding way to work around and navigate. And I realised that if I brought it all together into a concise programme that I can take people through, that they can also learn the skills of recovery and resilience building for themselves through self-coaching.
Yeah.
So I've just brought everything together, put it into a programme. I've taken a number of people, quite a few people through the programme. They've got great results. I get great results. So I've put it into everything that I've learned, but the most important bits that I've learned into a process that is, it's built on layers. So it has a very specific way of working. So you have to start at the beginning and you have to go all the way through it. You can't jump around and go from one thing to the other. Because if you do that, you don't emotionally ground yourself and you don't get to know yourself well enough to be able to deal with becoming emotionally triggered later on.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned
become emotionally triggered.
and you mentioned self-coaching. What do you mean by that? How does that work?
So how that works is that, we have the capability within ourselves to absolutely have a conversation with ourselves, an empowering conversation with ourselves, and coach ourselves through a situation. If you don't always have access to people, you don't have access to a therapist, you don't have access to a coach. So it's learning the skills to have a conversation with yourself around a particular struggle or subject that you are experiencing, going through. So I will check in with myself, and I do it from two different perspectives. I do it from what I call my higher self. So that's the very best version of me, who it is I ultimately, dream reality. This is who I really, really want to be. So I use the strengths of that character to coach who I am in this moment, who might be struggling with something's upset me, or I'm not sure about something, I'm not sure what direction to go in. I will self-coach myself using the personality of who I am now, but also the person who doesn't have any baggage, doesn't have any drama playing out there with my best intentions. Mm-hmm. So I'll just start off with how you're doing, what's going on. I can see that this is happening. Tell me a little bit about it. And then I'll tell her about it. And then I come back in again. And then I ask the next question. And then this goes on and on and on until you've exhausted the conversation, like you would with another person. Yeah. But the thing I like about self-coaching is that I know when I'm trying to wriggle out something. So my higher self will go, hang on a second, and pull me up. Whereas, you don't always get that dynamic in another relationship because they don't know you either well enough or have enough time with you, or you don't know how slippery you can be when it comes to dealing with emotions.
And you've just reminded me that one of the things you do that many people on the podcast have mentioned is journaling.
Yeah. Yes.
Is that how you're doing this, or can you do it in other ways?
So journaling plays a key role in this methodology. So there's two points. One is that the way I like to work is to bring the unconscious into the conscious. Because trauma is just so interlocked in the unconscious, you have to bring it forward. So there's two things I do. One is that we track daily what keeps us in flow, what takes us out of flow, what we need to do to put our best foot forward, and acknowledge what it is that we've been doing during the day. So we do that as a weekly exercise. We pull out the one that is taking us out of flow the most and showing up the most, and we deal with that one first. And then I take people through a self-coaching process so they can connect the dots and understand why they are behaving that way and why they're feeling that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the self-coaching piece.
Mm.
So self-coaching is really important because that's the honest conversation you have with yourself to be able to connect the dots to understand why you're behaving the way it is that you're behaving.
Yeah. And what is that sort of behaviour? How does trauma from the past sort of manifest in day-to-day life for people?
Yeah, there's lots of different ways for lots of different people, but I think that probably one of the most common things is people avoid situations, avoid things without even realizing it. A big one for me was that I never, even though I was visible in the business, I was still hiding behind content. I was still hiding behind people. And the behavior that was driving that was that I was abused as a group in a children's home. So I associated being in a group as opening myself up to be abused. Mm. So, which obviously isn't the case. It's a complete illusion. Mm. So my behavior was being dictated by a traumatic event that had happened in the past that has no relevance in the future. But my ego, the relationship, the software, the hardware that stores all our memories was trying its hardest to say, no, don't go and speak at that event. No, don't go and collaborate with that person. No, my visibility would only stretch so far. Mm, mm. So it will send you in directions that you have no awareness about to avoid a situation that they believe is going to be dangerous in one emotionally or physically. The brain's very clever. It'll try its hardest to keep you safe. And actually all it's doing is it's just locking you in the past from a past experience that is an illusion that is impacting on your future.
Yes.
So I think avoidance is a big one. Avoidance of doing everyday things that other people find easy.
Yeah, and a big part of that has got to be the sort of either conscious or unconscious effect of it. So some people may know that's why they're doing it. Many people, as you identified in yourself initially, don't know that that's why that's happening. And I guess that's the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is the challenge. I mean, I got triggered by something the other day. And I knew it was happening. I knew I was triggered, but it took me the whole day to actually come out of those emotions because I was having a battle in my brain about what I was thinking wasn't real, but it had a profound effect on my mood, my energy, how I was seeing things, how I was feeling. And I knew it was happening, but I couldn't in that moment. It was so intense. I couldn't step outside of it until later on in the evening. And then I was like, oh my God, that's what happened.
Yes. Yeah. So let's go back to talking about your book. You're in the middle of writing it, and we've sort of touched on already how the sort of emotions are impacted and your physical sort of effects of tiredness and so on. But tell us about the process in terms of getting on and doing it, because many people want to write books, most people don't. Those who do, some people will tell you, oh, it was a breeze, I loved it, it's great. Most people will tell you it was hard work and difficult to motivate themselves at times and so on. Tell us about your experience of it.
Yeah, so for me, what is interesting is because I'm so hardwired for survival mode, which means that I can only do things that are in front of me. I mean, I've even taken jobs that have been really high risk because I'm so hardwired for survival, only deal with what's in front of me. What I discovered was that if I didn't have a deadline to work to, it just got put off. I lost my motivation. I didn't lose interest in doing it. I knew it needed to be done, but because I didn't have set myself deadlines to work towards, I couldn't. It was just impossible. It just seemed impossible for me to do. It was like I was a completely different person. It's a bit strange, actually, when I think about it. So the deadlines, I've had to set myself deadlines to get things done by. So I'm backing that survival mode again of, right, got a deadline, need to aim towards that. I can get that done. That gives me a focus. If I don't have a deadline, it's not happening.
How do you make it a proper deadline when it's a self-imposed deadline?
So I have just said I'm going to write a chapter a week, and then I send that chapter to people who are giving me some feedback. So I tell them also that, I'm going to be sending you a chapter a week. So that's how I've been holding myself accountable, is that I've actually made other people make me accountable.
And is it working?
Yeah, it is working.
Good.
It is working. It's working much better when I wasn't doing it that way. That's for sure. Yeah.
Lovely. So by the time this is published, the book will be finished, won't it?
It will.
See, this is the biggest self-imposed or externally accountable for deadline.
It will. Well, I've got a deadline now. It's got to be finished for release. Yes, it will be. That's the plan.
Brilliant.
I want to get it out as quickly as possible because that's just me. But the reality is it's not happening quite like that.
So tell us more about how you go about organising yourself and getting things done. I mean, you're swanning around on a beautiful island in lovely heat, and I think I heard birds tweeting earlier. I mean, this is a lovely holiday sort of style place. How do you get any work done?
I am. Once I've got that deadline that I'm working towards, and I have the luxury, when you're self-employed, I'm not doing anything else. I'm just writing the book. I stopped everything because I just found it too much. I couldn't split myself between trying to getting, thought I'm just going to sit down and write the book. So if I go out during the day, which I quite often do, I will then do a couple of hours in the evening. So I always work pretty much every day, even Saturday and Sunday. But my time is very flexible because I've got my deadline. I know what it is that I'm focusing in on, so I can play with time a bit more if I was, working with clients and doing the marketing and doing all the things you need to do to run a business.
Yeah. And what about technology, tools and apps and that sort of thing? What sort of things do you use?
I am using just Google Document. That's all I'm using is just Google Document, because I can share that. People can put their edits in, what they think. Yeah, I can share that. That's quite handy.
And it saves automatically, always a good thing.
Yeah, that is always a good thing. The only problem is when the internet's down, you can't access it. So that's not so good.
Ah, yes. Well, there's got to be some downside of being in a place, isn't there?
I'm very lucky. I mean, Thailand has always been a place for healing for me. So writing the book and being here is just perfect.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm very lucky.
So that's a great segue onto how you keep yourself healthy. Tell us more about that. I remember when you first went there were so many posts on Facebook showing us you at the spa or going for a walk on the beach and generally looking after yourself.
Funny thing is, I've just come back from the spa.
Oh, funny that.
I had a Thai massage. I had a Thai massage and something else they did, which I'm not quite sure what it is they did, but it was lovely. It was meant to be a facial, but it wasn't. It was all over my body, which was a bit bizarre, but it was, it was lovely. So I do the spa a lot. I actually find doing the spa and writing a brilliant combination. It's a really fantastic combination because I'm calm, I'm chilled out. I've also stopped eating meat, which is really hard. So I just eat, not raw, but, cook. I actually find it really hard. I was going to say I just eat cooked vegetables, but I must do more than that.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, I'm like the world's worst cook. And the other thing I'm going to be doing starting tomorrow is walking up a hill.
That sounds like a Kate Bush song. Oh no, that was Running, wasn't it?
So I'm much more conscious since writing the book about looking after my health because it's been so emotionally heavy. So I'm actually consciously thinking, actually, I need to eat decently. I need to go to the spa and I need to start actually exercising because the thing with trauma is it gets trapped in the body. It gets trapped emotionally, energetically in the body, and you need to move. You need to move with it, move around, try and get out of your head into your body, which is very unusual for me.
Yeah. What about learning and improving yourself? You've changed your life and you've changed your business over, the last however many years. And I always see you sort of constantly looking at new things and new ways of doing things. How do you do that? I
have tried to stop it actually while writing the book because I don't want to be influenced by, it's very easy to get influenced by other stuff because you look for stuff that reinforces what you believe. So I'm trying at the moment not to do that because I don't want it to influence what it is that I'm doing when I'm writing the book. So I've really cut down. I watched a film on trauma the other day, which was absolutely fantastic and just reinforced everything that I think. So that's good. I'm trying to stop. Yes.
I think you're the first person who said that in answer to that question. But it is interesting, isn't it, that those of us who are sort of keen on learning new things and doing new things, often that stuff can be distracting, can't it? We procrastinate by learning new things rather than actually implementing what we ought to be implementing from the last thing we learned.
Yeah, absolutely. It's for sure. I mean, I still do procrastinate for sure. I absolutely do. We have a thing called Lazada here, Lazada online shopping. I'm constantly procrastinating on that for hours. But it doesn't influence what I'm writing.
No.
But yeah, I'm avoiding it.
And what about sort of routines, rituals, habits, all that sort of thing? You've sort of touched on some of that already. What do you try and do on a regular basis?
So are you ready?
Yeah, go on then. Impress me.
So I do three things. I do, and I do this because of writing the book and trying to ground myself more into my body. But the first thing I do is like 5 minutes neck exercises. So that's the first, and I do it in this order. I then do a nice face bath. That's it. That's the right way around.
Yeah.
So I put some ice in a bowl and then shove my face in it for 20 seconds. I then do my feet, and then I do my hands, which is actually really hard to do my hands. My hands can't tolerate it, but my feet can and my face can. But I try my hands. And then I do a sort of like pat me down body, just give myself a good beating up with my fists from head to toe.
Yeah.
So that's what I do as a routine, and I find that really helpful.
That sounds like what they do at the spa. Can't you just then get them to do it?
The other thing I really, really love is deep breathing. is quick, deep breathing, and then holding your breath for a couple of minutes, and then deep breathing again. That is fantastic. I like that as well. So those are 4 things that I do consistently throughout the week.
Lovely. I had a cold shower the other day. That was my one attempt.
Oh, do you follow Wim Hof?
Well, that was where it came from via one of my colleagues at Engage for Success, and I thought I went to get in the shower. I can't remember. I don't even know the rules whether you're supposed to do it at the beginning of the shower or the end of the shower. But for some reason,
the whole
I thought,
shower.
Oh, I will.
What are you on about? The whole shower.
Yeah, no, you can't do just a cold shower. Obviously, the joy in that. I tell you what, I'm actually quite traumatized at the moment because it's been quite hot for the last week or so here. We're recording this in June, and one of the things I love is hot baths, like really hot baths, and I can't have them when it's so hot because then obviously I'm like even hotter than I would have been before, and I'm missing them because that's one of my little routines.
Oh. Yeah, can't you have a lukewarm one, or just is that?
No, it won't be the same. No, it's got to be so hot you can hardly get in it.
Wow. You could just try an ice bath. His thing is ice baths. The breathing. The breathing is really good.
Well, I sing for that, don't I? So I do do that.
Yeah,
but,
that would do it.
Yeah, no, I'm not swapping an ice bath for a hot bath. Not quite the same effect. Although, albeit probably much better for me, but there we go. So, last couple of questions. Tell me about what you do on those days where it all goes horribly wrong. I think you've sort of touched on that before when you were talking about something that triggered you. But, when the day doesn't work as you planned, what do you do?
I journal.
Mm-hmm.
I journal and I self-coach myself. I have a conversation with myself. I'm a very emotional person, I've discovered. I'm very, very sensitive, really emotional. Yes, me.
Recently? No, but is that recently? Did you not? Yeah.
I think because I've sort of really started to discover, and I don't think I'm at the end of the journey yet, is separating myself from the trauma.
Yeah.
It has meant that I've actually been able to feel. And because that is a new experience for me, learning love and compassion is very new to me. It's only something I've learned in the last 6 months. So I don't know how you put with me before then. No. But I journal around that, and I use it as therapy.
Yes.
When things go wrong. And I also check out with other people as well.
Yeah. So when people talk about your long-suffering partner, he's done well to hang on in there all these years.
Oh, he has. Oh my God, I put him through hell. Anyone who has been through trauma will always put their partners through hell. Because the brain's just trying to protect you all the time. You're not even going to know why you're doing it.
No. I mean, I was being flippant, but
no, it's true. It's true. It's very true. It's something I haven't
together a long while. He's clearly, really been there for you, and I wonder if he's as impressed with your enlightenment recently as you are.
Well, no, no. I said to him the other day, "You're going to read the book." No. Probably a good thing that he doesn't actually.
Yes. Well, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. So the last question: what about those days where you get to live more, and that's where you get to do more of the things that you want to do, and less of the stuff that you don't want to do? What do those days look like for you?
Spa.
I was about to say as well as spa.
Spa, and the other thing is cake. 2 things for me: spa and cake. Nice chocolate cake.
Good job there's no meat and cake then, obviously.
It's really funny. People think I'm nuts when I say that, but to me a cake is like a real slice. If you get a decent bit of cake, it's like a real slice of luxury.
Mm. Is that related to your past, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that sounds like a certain sort of story or lack of experience that became an experience that then sort of anchored that for you. Interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
Bar and cake, but not necessarily together.
Wow.
Don't wanna get
Actually,
crumbs everywhere.
really good, this is like a good combination to me, cake and spa. Oh, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. So, Wendy, as expected, it's been great fun interviewing you today, which is not something I thought I'd be saying at the end of a conversation about trauma. But, thank you so much for being, honest and really open on here. And it, I wouldn't say that bit was fun per se, but, the fact that we've known each other a long time and have a relationship has really made this a different sort of style of podcast. So hopefully the listeners are enjoying that too. Tell people how they can find out more about you and get in touch.
Yep, you can find me at thetraumarecoverymethod.com. There will be what will there be? There will be a tab that you can just click, which will just say contact me, and you can leave me a message and then I can reach back out to you.
Lovely. And that's on the basis that we're recording this 3 months ahead of your book being completed.
It will be complete by then. Complete by then.
I'm looking forward to it. So thank you so much, Wendy. Thanks for your time today. I've really appreciated talking to you.
Take care.
Are you a home-based coach or consultant feeling like you need a bit of help? Our Power to Live More Calm membership is designed to meet you where you're at with the help you need in the moment so you can get unstuck, move forwards and get stuff done. You might think this sounds too good to be true, or maybe wondering how it would fit with how you work and run your business. Why not have a no obligation chat with Jo to see how she can help you? All you need to do is go to powertolivemore.com/calm call.
All this information is available in the show notes, which you can get to using the app that you're listening to this podcast on, or if you go to the website powertolivemore.com / in this case 227. And this week I just want to briefly talk to you about the concept of using templates for things that you do. We were talking about it at the Power to Live More Gold Call this week, and about how the things that you keep doing, that you keep relentlessly doing, you can often make easier through various things like templates, automation, outsourcing, and so on. And that so often as home-based coaches and consultants, we end up doing things, repeating things interminably ourselves and not actually working out a better, quicker, more efficient, more effective, basically more stress-free process. So what emails are you sending where you could use a template? Which emails are you sending on a regular basis where you could create a template and just either copy it in or use something like the tool Text Expander to automatically add that to your email? So, for example, I work with Engage for Success, that you may remember, the national movement around employee engagement, and we often get people asking to do guest blogs for our website, and all I do is I hit reply, I say hi, whatever the name is, and then I put # content reply, and it automatically expands into a standard reply that says, yes, we do accept guest content. Here's our editorial guidelines. Please send everything to content@engageforsuccess.org when you're ready, and so on. Job done. And it just makes it so easy to reply to those people. If I'm doing a radio show with Engage for Success, I have a standard blurb that I say at the beginning of the live show, and I go into my Evernote account, create a new note, put the title of the radio show in there, and then I type in # radio opening, and the whole blurb comes up, and then I can fill in my guest name and the content that we're going to be talking about, and it's pretty much done from there. So what things are you constantly typing, constantly sending that you could turn into templates so that you don't have to keep reinventing the wheel? And as I say, you can use a tool like Text Expander. You can also use in Google, and I can't think what the technical term is, but they have a way of creating templated emails that you can just add in, take from when you're ready to use them. And I'm sure Outlook does the same. I haven't used Outlook for a long time, but I'm sure it did it when I used to use it before, and I'm sure it still does it now. So how can you create templates? And, the really sort of not analog version, because it's still online, but, you can just create a document that has all those templates in and just copy and paste the relevant content in at each time. So have a think about what things you're constantly writing, which emails you're writing and having to recreate each time, and work out how you can create a template to make it quicker for you. As ever, the show notes for this week's show are at powertolivemore.com / 227. And we look forward to speaking to you next week.
Use your power to live more.